Woo! What is going on, everybody? You got BROLLIC here, and I am back, ladies and gentlemen, for Generation 7. Now, I absolutely loved my playthrough of Pokemon Sun. I really think Game Freak did a fantastic job with these games, and I think they did a really nice job with the new Pokemon that they came up with for Generation 7. Now, of course, you know, there are a lot of things here and there that Game Freak does that will annoy us competitive players, little things here and there that definitely bother us about certain Pokemon we like or may want to use that kind of lose out in certain aspects because maybe Game Freak didn't give them a great ability or a great move pool, things like that. But overall, I feel like they did come up with good ideas to make almost all the new Pokemon viable in some way, even in like higher tiers. You know, for example, like OU. Right now, I've only really been playing pre-bank OU, which is OU that only involves Pokemon that can be found or obtained in Sun and Moon. Same thing with moves. But I do try to build my pre-Pokebank teams to be solid enough to take on most post-Pokebank teams as well, just because I really enjoy using a lot of these new Pokemon, and I want to be able to use them against friends that are using Pokebank teams anyway and still have a shot to win. So kind of like my cream teams, you know, it's really the same concept, just taking Pokemon that aren't as viable or are outclassed generally by some other higher tiered Pokemon, but making them work in the hardest environment, which is, you know, OU. So basically, I will be uploading Wi-Fi battles onto the channel soon, but first I need to come up with some teams in game and find some opponents before I could do that. So for now, I figured I would just upload a pretty cool tournament replay video just to show you guys or establish some Sun and Moon OU credibility before I get into the Wi-Fi battle. So here, I joined a tournament on the Pokemon Central Facebook group. I'll leave their link in the description. They're always having new tournaments, and they're always, you know, teaching lessons. Why am I stumbling over my words? They are there to help people get better at Pokemon, to share new ideas, you know, new cores, things like that. They're a bunch of great guys. So I'll leave their link in the description. And basically, they were having a tournament where you paired up with a team of about 5 people and just faced off against other teams and played people as often as you could. Now, I don't have tons of time to just play as many people as I can every single day. That's also kind of like playing on the ladder, which I don't enjoy that much. So basically, I'm just taking some of my best teams that I've built for the pre-Pokebank and testing them out against like some of my good friends that I know are really good players. So I have 3 replays against some of the best OU players in general. So here, I'm actually using a post-Pokebank team. This is one of my only ones. It's a Trick Room team. Trick Room got a pretty nice buff this generation with a lot of new slow and powerful Pokemon, as well as a really solid hazard remover in Delmise. Gets Rapid Spin. Alolan Marowak, which has the ability Lightning Rod, which could serve as a electric immunity, kind of like a ground type, and still hit incredibly hard with the thick club. Magearna is very, very nice on Trick Room. And then even Necrozma here too. I came up with a pretty cool Necrozma set, as I will get into the game shortly. This is against my friend Ricardo. You may recognize his name from some of the videos on my actual channel. He is a very good player, definitely one of the top ORAS OU players towards the end of the metagame, and now he's off to a strong start in Sun and Moon. He's built some really good teams, and this is one of them. It's definitely a very scary looking team, but because it is pretty offensive, Trick Room can take advantage of that fact. So I'm just going to need to play it well, though, because his synergy is very good, and he's a very good player. I can't let his aggressive plays get too out of hand and take advantage of me. So we'll get right into the battle, as I lead with Necrozma, and he leads with Landorus. These nicknames are just nicknames of things that annoy him. So he goes right for his Rocks, as I go right for the Trick Room. Now, I should have changed Necrozma's Psychic Stab to Psychic instead of Psyshock, because I just had Psyshock on here for things like Chansey or like really, really bulky special, like special walls or special Pokemon. But knowing that Ricardo mostly plays offense, I definitely should have had Psychic here. It really comes to bite me later on. As you'll see, he actually goes right for the U-turn, as I go right for a Psyshock, which gets a decent chunk of damage off. Think about how much more that would have done if it was a Psychic. Necrozma has really high special attack. I'm a quiet nature, and this is a physically defensive Landorus, so it probably would have taken well over 50% from a Psychic, but it only takes about 32 with the Psyshock. So here he goes for the U-turn, and it reveals the weakness policy. Because of Prism Armor, Necrozma can take super effective attacks very nicely, as long as they're not way too strong. You know, it's not going to be eating up like a, you know, Choice Specs Greninja's Dark Pulse or something like that. But it could take something like a Pheromosa's U-turn. It could take a Weavile's knockoff, things like that. So that's why this set is pretty cool, because it allows me to set up a Trick Room on a super effective attack and then have pretty good coverage to just kind of blow through things. So I predict him to go, well, actually, I mean, he goes right into his Celesteela after he U-turns, and I just wanted to go for Dark Pulse here to see how much it does. It also it can help me scout what kind of Celesteela this is. It could be specially defensive, which is probably the most common. It could be Fizz Def, or it could be even offensive. So I go right for the Dark Pulse as he misses the Leech Seed. Kind of unfortunate for him, and that only does 35%. So this is definitely fully specially defensive. Now I'm gonna have to switch out here. I go right into my Marowak because I know that's gonna force him right into his Landorus, and I can't really hurt it too much after the Intimidate, especially while I have a Leech Seed on me. So I can go right for my Stealth Rocks here, which is pretty cool. Marowak doesn't get Stealth Rocks pre-bank, so that is why it is even nicer post-bank, because it gets that move. So here I go right into Thunder Wave, my Cresselia, as he goes right for a U-turn to keep up the momentum, as now he goes into Latios. Now, I calced, and I could live guaranteed even a Life Orb Draco Meteor. The only thing that may knock me out is a Specs Draco Meteor. So I'm pretty confident that this is his Defogger and that he's not going to be running Specs on it. And he obviously needs Defog on this team. He's got a Charizard. So here, I just go right for a Trick Room, because if he does Draco, I could just easily recover up, as he goes right into his Celesteela. So now I go right into Delmise, because I know he's going to Leech Seed, and then he's probably in a Flamethrower. If he has Air Slash, I could Scout for it. I know it can't kill me, and I can get the Rapid Spin off. I am slower, so I do go for the Rapid Spin, as now he Flamethrowers, and I have, he sees that now I have an Assault Vest, which is probably my favorite set for Delmise. Is now I go right into Marowak, as I can lure in his Crawdaunt, because not his Crawdaunt, his Landorus, as I can go into Crawdaunt, because now I know that even with the Intimidate, I could still knock him out cleanly with the Crab Hammer. As he goes into Celesteela after getting a U-turn off, I knew I could live any hit, as this still 2-hit KOs. Now, I actually like to run Adamant Crawdaunt on my Trick Room teams, because it outspeeds some slow things like Hippowdon outside of Trick Room, which is kind of important in my opinion. So I'm an Adamant Crawdaunt instead of Brave, and I know that Celesteelas usually run, what's it called? Heavy Slam and Flamethrower as their two attacking moves, and the fact that he went for Flamethrower over Air Slash on my Delmise definitely reveals to me that he probably does not have Air Slash, that he probably has Heavy Slam instead. So I take a calculated risk here and go right for the knockoff, knowing that he's probably going to be a Sassy Nature, because he's got a physical attack and a special attack, as I do just that and I knock out the Celesteela, which is very nice, because that thing is definitely a big threat if it starts healing up again with Leech Seed. So here he goes into his Landorus, and I can't knock this thing out, so I just decide to go right into my Cresselia again, as he goes for Rocks. I was kind of expecting that, but that's okay, because I don't mind the Rocks as much as he does. His Charizard needs those off the field to do anything, really. So here I go into my Magearna, as he goes right for the Draco Meteor, maybe expecting me to go for a Trick Room there, because I tried to do that the last time, so he wanted to keep me low or switch into something as I went back for another Moonlight. So I go into Magearna, because I know there's nothing that could 2-hit KO me from this Latios. Maybe Earthquake can, but I'm not sure. I know HP Fire just barely misses out, but he actually does reveal the HP Fire, and he gets a crit, as that does matter, but I get a crit right back, which definitely helps me out there. It doesn't really matter in the long run, and it wouldn't have mattered if he didn't get the crit there, but you'll see how, you know, it doesn't really matter too much in the long run. I guess, yeah. So anyway, he goes into Charizard, as now I switch out and just sack my Marowak. He can't set up on Marowak. He can't just, you know, like try to sub up or try to keep DDing on Marowak. So here I go into Cresselia, as I can go for the Trick Room, and he goes for the Flare Blitz. He gets a burn here, and that's a little unfortunate, just because if he didn't get the burn, I could have just Psychic. I could just Psychic right there, or healed up first, I'm trying to think, what could I have done? Yeah. I could have just healed up first, been really healthy, and then knocked out the Charizard on the next turn. And I can't remember what I had, like an elaborate plan in my head as to why that burn mattered in the game. Wasn't that big of a deal, But regardless, I knock out the Charizard because I want one less threat to kill, so my Trick Room turns can count more. As now I just want to get a little bit of damage off on this Garchomp because it is not in range of, it's like barely in range of a Crodon's Crabhammer. It may be able to live the hit, and also I want it to be in easier range of Magearna. So here I decide to go for the Psychic, as he actually goes for the Earthquake in case I try to like pull a switch into something like Magearna. Dragon Claw wouldn't have killed me anyway, and now he switches out and goes into his Landorus. That reveals to me that there's a good chance he may be Scarfed. I go for the Lunar Dance, and I go into Magearna, as now Flash Cannon is a guaranteed KO on this Landorus. Now, I'm very confident that this Garchomp is Scarfed, because Ricardo does not like to run teams that do not have speed control. He doesn't have any Thunder Wave. He doesn't have any priority. So I doubt this is going to be any type of boosted Garchomp. Maybe it would be the Sandstorm one, because Z Sandstorm boosts Garchomp's speed by 1 stage, which makes it kind of like a Scarf Chomp. So I just don't think it's going to be a boosted one. So with that being the case, he would need an absolute max roll to knock me out with an Earthquake here. In which case I could just go for the Trick Room. He's almost definitely not going to knock me out, which he just does not. And I can go for the Trick Room and clean him up here, as this Flash Cannon is able to knock him out. And now I could just go for the Z move, Corkscrew Crash, the Steel move, and just easily knock out this Magearna and pick up the 4-0 victory. A very, very fun game. It was a way closer 4-0 than it looked. But like I said, if I had Psychic on Necrozma, that thing would have put in so much work once the Celesteela went down. So I could have won this game more easily if I had Necrozma to pressure him, but unfortunately I was not able to go into that Pokemon, because for example something like Charizard X could easily have avoided a KO from the Side Shock from the range it was at and healed up and stuff like that, and that would have been somewhat of a nightmare because it could possibly set up on Necrozma. So that's why I had to go into Cresselia on the Charizard instead. So anyway, we'll move on to the next game. It is against NJNP, the OST champion. Definitely one of the best OU players. He actually set up this tournament. He banned Aegislash and Pheromosa for this. Aegislash is banned anyway, but Pheromosa also he banned, which was cool because those things are just both pretty restrictive to team building, and the meta is a lot healthier without those things. So here I brought a pre-bank team against him, except I put Landorus Eye over a Scarf Flygon. This is Scarf Landorus Eye. Both of them, like Scarf Landorus Eye is not that good of a set, so it's kind of funny because I'm not even using the broken version of Landorus. So this is a hyper-offensive team, and I realized that pre-bank, there is no Ferrothorn. So I have nothing for this Ferrothorn, and I need to go against this Ferrothorn here, which could be a huge nuisance. So I need to do my best to try to key on it, really try to get momentum on it, and constantly chip damage it so I could knock it out with some powerful attacks later. For example, I have Specs Ash Greninja here. So Specs Greninja's Dark Pulse will do a good amount anyway, and if I do get my evolution up, Specs Dark Pulse from Ash Greninja will do a ton to Ferrothorn. So that is the game plan, or else I don't have much of a chance to win. So we'll get right into the battle. I lead with Lycanroc. I'm actually a Sash Stealth Rock Taunt lead, as I go right for the taunt, as he goes into his Landorus. And now I can scout to see whether this thing is Scarfed or not, as I go right for the Stealth Rocks and he goes for the Earthquake. That reveals that he is not Scarfed, which is nice. Now I go right for the Stonage just to get a little bit of chip damage as he goes into his Ferrothorn here. He doesn't lose much by going for spikes and trying to get me to switch out, but I go for the taunt because I really don't want him getting up these spikes, as now I switch out going into Dhelmise. I try to get him to switch out, realizing that Gyro Ball does nothing here. I try to get him to preserve his Ferrothorn and not let it get weakened, so I go right into Landorus here, as he actually goes into his own Landorus, probably trying to get up Stealth Rocks or just knowing that Dhelmise can't do too much, as here he goes into Ferrothorn, and I actually go right for Knockoff, because knocking off that Landorus would have been kind of nice, and I sort of figured that he may go Ferrothorn or Magnezone to try to dodge an HP Ice or scout for an HP Ice, because I know NJMP loves his Assault Vest Magnezone. Obviously, he can't take an Earth Power, but he could just try to play around it with the HP Ice. But I figured Ferrothorn was probably his best switch, just because if I went for Earth Power, predicting the Magnezone or something, the Ferrothorn could take 2 Earth Powers. So I catch the Ferrothorn with the knockoff, which is very, very nice, because now he loses his leftovers, and I could wear this thing down much better. So that is huge for me. As now I switch out into Greninja. Really bold move, just because I figured he may go for Spikes or Gyro Ball. I did not think he'd be going for Power Whip there. I don't know if he has it, but if he did, I didn't think he would. And Protein Greninja is allowed in Pokebank OU. So if this is HP Fire, he's got to switch out here. So I just go right for the Specs Dark Pulse, because I'm really trying to get this Ferrothorn out of here. And I figured that he may not have Power Whip, so he may not want to stay in for that reason. And even if he does have Power Whip, he's got to fear the HP Fire. As I go for that Dark Pulse, and that does a really good chunk to this Assault Vest Magnezone. It's definitely Assault Vested, judging by that Dark Pulse doing only 45%, not even. So here, I switch out into Lycanroc to sack it, as here I go into my Landorus, and I try to bluff the Earth Power here, but I go right for the U-turn, as I guess he was just willing to sack that Magnezone off, but I knew it would be okay, because I knew he would probably go for, what's it called? Flash Cannon here. I was pretty confident that's what he would do, as I go right into Greninja, and I knew he wouldn't expect the Scarf, as he's just like, you can't see the comments here, but he's just like, knock off and U-turn. Are you effing kidding me, Matt? Like, are you really Scarf? So here, he goes for the Flash Cannon. Does a pretty good chunk to even, not too big of a deal. As I go for the Hydro Pump, thankfully I hit. I went for Hydro just because that would have done a lot more to Tapu Fini if he switched that in. As here he goes into Tapu Lele, and I'm definitely expecting a Scarf on this thing. As now, I go into Dhelmise because I know I could live to Moonblast guaranteed. He really does not have a good reason to go for Psychic here, because both, like, my switch in is either Magearna, which could take 2 Psychics if he's Scarfed, or, what's it called? Or Dhelmise, I guess. I mean, not Dhelmise. I mean, he probably didn't expect me to go into Dhelmise because he didn't know that I was Assault Vest, but my switch in was probably either Magearna or staying in, expecting him to try to go for a Psychic and just knocking him out with the Specs Hydro Pump. So he really had no reason to go for the Psychic there, which is nice because now he's locked into Moonblast, and he got a high roll on that first one. He cannot knock me out on the second one, as I could just go for Power Whip here because I want to get a lot of damage off on whatever comes in. If he goes Ferrothorn, it's not too big of a deal because I can just either save this Dhelmise or just go right for a spin as he tries to go for another Spike, or just tries to knock me out with the Gyro Ball, because I'll be in range of a Gyro Ball after I take the Rough or Iron Barb damage from the Ferrothorn. So here I just click Power Whip, because if he does go into Landorus or Garchomp, then he will take a lot of damage, which will be very nice for me. But he actually just stays in and goes for the Moonblast, as this one-hit KOs the Tapu Lele. Oh my gosh, I'm not even max attack. So here he goes into Garchomp, and I almost went for Rapid Spin, but I go for Power Whip here because I realized that if he tries to go for an SD here or a Z Sandstorm, then the Power Whip can put him in range of a, what's it called, of a Specs Water Shuriken from Greninja if I get 3 or more hits. So now he goes for the Substitute. So I realized that he may want to sub up and try to get a miss from a Power Whip. So I just go for Anchor Shot, because now that I know that he's an offensive variant, I know that Anchor Shot could break the sub. So here he goes for another Substitute, as I go for the Anchor Shot. He actually is leftovers. He's not Z Sandstorm. But here, he just goes right for the Dragon Claw and knocks me out. As now I could just go right into my Tapu Koko and just go right for the Dazzling Gleam, because I do not want Tapu Fini to get a free switch in. And I figure I could wear down this Ferrothorn a little bit more, which is really, really important for me. I get a crit on that U-turn. Doesn't really matter too much, but damage is damage. So that's helpful, because I could potentially set up on this Ferrothorn with Magearna and just beat him with Shift Gear Magearna. So keeping that Ferrothorn low, but like still having it alive, can help me set up and win. So here I go right for the U-turn just to chip the Ferrothorn a little more, but he actually goes Landorus, which is great, as here I could just click Specs Dark Pulse. I'm in a good spot now, because like Tapu Koko pretty much just wins after this, as here he goes into Tapu Fini, and I go for Dark Pulse, and I get a crit. Now, at first I wouldn't think that mattered at all, but he actually goes for the Calm Mind. So at first I thought maybe it mattered, and he thought it mattered too, but I looked it up afterwards. You're going to see this Scarf Earthquake does way more than I thought it was going to do, as he just goes for the Protect, and now I get the Earthquake off. That does over 46% to a physically defensive Tapu Fini. I was really surprised about that, as now I could just go into Tapu Koko. He would have had like 12 to 15 more percent left here, which would not have saved him from a Thunderbolt, because Thunderbolt does like min 57 to this Tapu Fini. So here, this Thunderbolt is easily able to knock him out, and then I will just be able to clean up the game with the combination of this Dazzling Gleam on the Landorus, and then Specs Dark Pulse will just easily be able to win this for me, as neither of these Pokemon are Scarfed. So I don't even have to worry about locking myself into Water Shuriken or anything like that. So I'm just able to clean up with these Specs Dark Pulses. And I cannot believe I picked up this win over a player this good without anything to touch the Ferrothorn, and with a pre-bank team and a Scarf Lander as I. But hey, I definitely I definitely kept my eye on the prize, knew exactly what I needed to do to win, and that is how you could play around a bad matchup even against a good player, because he played pretty solidly. I guess outplayed him. So now going on to the final game that I have here. This is against my boy Darius. Great builder, very good friend of mine. This actually looks like a pretty solid looking Oras type of team, except he has a Tapu Bulu, which is a huge threat. And this is a really, really fun team that I made. This is a pre-bank team. I laddered pretty close to the top of the pre-bank ladder with this team. I've actually just been testing so many teams out there that I've been like constantly between like, the 1500s and 1700s with this team, or not this team, just with my teams, testing them out. But this has been one that's been one of the most consistent, as it gets to feature two of my favorite Pokemon this generation, Silvally and Araquanid. Silvally is actually electric and Araquanid is choice banded. He does have some huge threats to my team. He definitely has a pretty good matchup against me because this Slowbro is really hard for my team to take down. Mega Metagross is just generally a huge threat, and this Volcarona is also a huge nuisance. While everything else is just really threatening to my team too, those are just some that kind of stand out more than the others. So here, he leads with Metagross as I lead with Silvally Electric, just because Silvally led pretty well against everything except for this Metagross, and what's it called? Tapu Bulu, because he could take a hit. But even so, Tapu Bulu, I could just go right for the parting shot and easily go into Celesteela. So it led pretty well against everything except Metagross. So good lead on his part. Maybe he thought, oh, actually, I could explain something later. So he goes right for the Zen Headbutt here. That does a pretty good chunk, but I'm very confident, not very, but pretty confident that he's not going to have Thunder Punch here because he has a Thundurus, he has a Volcarona, he has a Tapu Bulu. All things that either beat Celesteela or beat Bulky Waters, so he wouldn't really need Thunder Punch. So here, I go right for the Leech Seed. No, actually, no, I double right into my Garchomp, actually, because I figured he was going to go either Excadrill or he was going to go Volcarona, both of which Garchomp could threaten out. As here, I don't really have too much of a reason not to quick Earthquake, but I am Scarfed. So I figure he's going to go into Slowbro here, and if he goes into Slowbro, I can go into Tapu Fini and just click Nature's Madness and get huge damage off on something, which would be great. So I do go into Tapu Fini as he actually stays in and goes for Stealth Rocks. So I'm really surprised here. I knew this was going to be Stealth Rock Excadrill because unless he has Stealth Rock on Metagross, then he doesn't have Rocks, and Darius would not build a team without Rocks. And I know that this is going to be some type of bulky Excadrill because he has no checks for Tapu Koko otherwise. So here he goes right for the Rocks, and now I just go right for the Nature's Madness, knowing that he's probably going to go into Thundurus. So I just wanted to get some damage on it because I know I can live a Thunderbolt here, even though I am physically defensive. And I get off a Defog, but I take so much damage here, which is going to make defogging later on difficult. So I was really surprised that he stayed in with the Excadrill. But anyway, I go right into the Silvally here because I figure he may have HP Ice that he may want to go to for the Garchomp. So I resist that, which means he's HP Flying. So now I just go right for the Flamethrower in case he wants to go right into Excadrill. But he actually goes right into Metagross, and I get a slightly low roll on that Flamethrower, but still it doesn't do that much. As here he goes for the Pursuit, predicting me to switch out. So good play on his part, because Silvally is actually a big threat to him. As here, I could just go right for the Leech Seed, and unfortunately, I miss. So that actually ends up mattering. Like you'll kind of see in a second, because now I go right into Mamoswine as he goes for the Rocks. I know that this thing is going to be bulky, or this thing is not going to be a really fast one. So I'm just going to click Earthquake here, because if he goes into Tapu Bulu, I outspeed it because I'm jolly and I can knock it out with Ice Cold Crash. If he goes into Slowbro, I could either get up my Rocks or go into something like Araquanid, Tapu Fini, something like that, just because he needs Rocks gone more than I need Rocks gone, because he has that Volcarona and his Thundurus is weakened. So here I could just click Earthquake as he actually just stays in, and it turns out he's got the Shuka Berry. Now, that's why he stayed in earlier against my Garchomp, so that makes sense. But here, that Leech Seed miss really mattered, because had I gotten that first round of Leech Seed when he switched in, and then switched into Mamoswine and got that second round, this Earthquake would have been a guaranteed knockout on this Excadrill. So either he would have to switch out, and have his Excadrill have been weakened a little bit, or he would have gotten knocked out right here if he didn't calc correctly, or just thought he would live because of the Shuka Berry, which would have been huge because then I can get Stealth Rocks up on at least 2 of his Pokemon here. I'm not sure if this Thundurus has coverage for me, but either way I could pick it off with Ice Shard, which is very nice. I could outspeed both Slowbro and Tapu Bulu and get up Rocks, and he would not be able to spin them away. So the Leech Seed miss really came to matter there, as he's able to get off that Iron Head, and that reveals also to me that he's not offensive. So that was unfortunate because now my Mammoth Swine can't even come in on rocks again. It dies to a Life Orb hit. So here, I should have gone with my gut. I was going to Stealth Rock here because if I get up my rocks, then and he switches out or he just goes to knock me out, the Excadrill really has trouble spinning on the rest of my team. So I could, what's it called? Like, he has trouble spinning on a lot of threats on my team. So what I could do here would be get up my rocks and then pressure him to try to spin them. And if he can't spin them, then Volcarona becomes a way less of a threat, and I'll be in a very good position to win. As well as I could save my Mammoth Swine if he does switch out or something like that, and just save it as a sack. So here, I should have gone for the Stealth Rocks, but I figured he would definitely go for Rapid Spin because Rapid Spin would knock me out and it would prevent me from keeping up my rocks. And what else does he really need this Excadrill for? Like, it doesn't really do anything else. It doesn't beat anything else on my team. So I thought he would definitely go for spin there. So I go into Celesteal to try to get any momentum I can because it's pretty hard to bring the game back at this point. Like, I'm in a pretty bad spot. So he actually switches out and goes into Tapu Bulu, which kind of confuses me too, just because if I attacked there, my play probably would have been going for Icicle Crash. And if I went for Stealth Rocks, then he has a difficult time spinning them if I play it correctly. So definitely surprised by that play. As now I'm kind of a weird spot. Here I just decide to go for the Flamethrower as he goes into his Slowbro. And I get a crit, but it does not do much. And now I go right for the Leech Seed here. I'm predicting him to go for the Skull, but I just want to Leech Seed him here to force him out. Now I feel like his Thunderous Switch is kind of obvious, so I just go right for the Heavy Slam because he's probably going to do it anyway just because I won't be able to KO it, as now it's in range of another one. Maybe I should have gone for the Leech Seed and protected on the following turn, but I just felt like I didn't want to give him any more momentum, so I just go right for another Heavy Slam, knowing that I could live that Thunderbolt. As here he goes right into his Volcarona, as I have to go right into Garchomp. I have no other play. I am a Scarf Chomp with Stone Edge, so he gets a little bit of chip damage off on me with the Fiery Dance here. And now I go right for the Poison Jab, because if he went into Tapu Bulu, that knocks that thing right out. If he goes into Slowbro and I poison it, then I'm in a very good spot. But as you'll see, I do not get the poison. And now I go into my Mammoth Swine to sack it because I have no switch in, as he actually doubles into Metagross here. As I go back into Garchomp, and I am going to Poison Jab again as he goes into Volcarona, and I do get the poison on this one, but that really doesn't end up mattering too much. So here I go into my Tapu Fini to sack it off, as he actually goes into his Metagross again, and just goes right for the Meteor Mash, so that's totally fine. As now I go right into Araquanid. I can live any hit this thing wants to go for, other than what's it called? A Thunder Punch, but I'm very confident, like I said, that he's not going to have the Thunder Punch. So here, I didn't even calc. I'm a Choice Banded Araquanid, so I figured that Choice Banded Leech Life would be able to knock this thing out from here. I don't know why. I don't know what I was on. I was just thinking that Araquanid was actually strong, because I always just click Liquidation, and it just destroys things. So, like, this was just a brain fart. If I calced it, I wouldn't have made this play. But I actually go for the Leech Life as he goes for Zen Headbutt, and that does not knock me out. But the Leech Life doesn't knock him out either. So, definitely a brain fart. I should have gone for the Liquidation, but he actually misses the Zen Headbutt here. So, because that I am able to knock out this Metagross. And that does matter. That is unfortunate. But, like, if I was actually, like, playing seriously at that point, I wouldn't have made that type of misplay. As here he goes for the Wood Hammer with the Tapu Bulu. And I still have a chance here. It's not too high, but I have a chance. If I go for Poison Jab here and knock this thing out, then I could potentially win with these last three combination of my Pokemon. As I knock him out with the Poison Jab, he does stay in, as here he goes into his Volcarona. So I can't knock him out with two Poison Jabs. So I go right into Silvally, because what I want to do is try to get him to attack here. Because if he attacks, then Garchomp could live a +1 hit from this bulky Volcarona, and especially if it has Giga Drain over Bug Buzz, which most bulky Volcaronas do run. So if that's the case, Garchomp definitely could live a +1 hit. I have the Stone Edge for this Volcarona, and then the only way he'd be able to easily beat me is if he has a Calm Mind Slowbro in the back, and even if he does have a Calm Mind Slowbro, I still have a chance at winning. So here, instead of going for parting shot, I bait him into attacking and going right into my Garchomp as he goes for the Giga Drain, because his Giga Drain would put him in out of range of Earthquake, but I do have this Stone Edge, and you'll see he crits me here, which is really unfortunate, because that crit wouldn't even have put me in range of dying to Stealth Rocks the next turn. As I just go to and forfeit here, what would have happened basically would be this. If I hit the Stone Edge, his Volcarona goes down. I still have Garchomp to come in on Stealth Rocks one more time. So what my play would be, as he goes into his Slowbro to Calm Mind up, I go into Silvally. Now, I go into Silvally, and I parting shot as he probably goes for an attack. I could live a hit from from Slowbro, go right into my Celesteela, and I can go for the Leech Seed. After I Leech Seed and he tries to set up on me, I double right back into Silvally, try to get some damage off on him. If I get a crit with Thunderbolt, it's obviously the game's over. But if I get like a Para, or if I get a high roll, anything of that sort, then I win the game. But if I just get a good amount of damage on him with Thunderbolt to the point where he just knocks me out because he can't really safely set up on me with the Leech Seed, then I go into my Garchomp, and if I have enough damage off on him, then I knock him out with the Outrage, and the game is over. But I probably would have needed the hacks. Just getting Leech Seed and trying to Thunderbolt him probably would not have beat him, just because Silvally is so weak. Like, unfortunately, Electric Memory item does not boost electric attacks. You just get stabbed for being an electric type. So, unfortunately, I probably would not have had enough power to knock him out. But, such is life. Maybe I would have gotten the hacks. All I needed was a crit or a power. I mean, obviously, those are low chances to happen, but it is Pokemon, and I just needed one or the other, and I pretty much had almost a guaranteed win. So, that was unfortunate, just because had I gotten up the rocks as he switched out his Excadrill, I would have been in a good spot. And had I also hit that Leech Seed on the Excadrill coming in, I would have also been in a very good spot. So, kind of unfortunate, because I think I could have had a good chance to win this game, even with a totally pre-banked team against a really solid Pokebank OU team. But that is the game that we play. So, great game, Darius. Really, really fun and cool team that he used. And yeah, that is pretty much it for these games. I had a lot of fun playing them, and was glad that I got to use pretty cool teams, two pre-Pokebank teams that actually worked out surprisingly well against great teams and great players. So definitely very happy about that. And I would love to know what you guys think in the comments of these interesting teams, or pre-Pokebank teams being used in Pokebank OU. Let me know in the comments if there are any specific Pokemon you guys really love and want to see me build around, because I can do that. I could have some more of these games and try to use those Pokemon to their fullest potential and try to show you guys how to use them if you would like. I could also, if you guys are looking for Wi-Fi battles, let me know, because if I'm in need of an opponent, we could try to work something out as well. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'd love some feedback on my new Gen 7 teams and battles, etc., etc. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and most importantly, have yourselves a fantastic day, and I will see you all in the next one. Later.